In the previous Game of Pods challenge, we saw how to create a voting application based on the problem statement given inside the Game of Pods map. In this video, we are going to take a look at how to deploy a Drupal application with MySQL database inside Kubernetes. For that, there is a challenge name called Bravo, and the Bravo is here exactly. So we need to go to this particular location in the map, and we should be able to create the deployments inside the Bravo challenge. Let's get started.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss any update from Tech Primers.
In order to log into the Game of Pods, I'm just clicking on the Enroll Free to Play option. This will allow me to log into the Game of Pods account. After I have signed up, it allows me to go to the portal. The moment I click on Go to Game Portal, this loads me the Game of Pods map. So we are going to fix the Bravo. So the moment I click on Bravo, see that it's not saying that I have already fixed it. Instead, it's saying let's fix it. Let me click on the let's fix it option. This will take me to the Katakora challenge. So we have exactly 60 minutes to finish this particular example. This is the challenge. It says that deploy a Drupal application, configuring secrets, exposing application through services, configuring init containers, and then creating persistent volume. So these are the different resources which we will be learning as a part of this particular challenge. Now let's get into the scenario. The moment I click on start scenario, my quiz has begun. If I click on the quiz portal, so challenge has begun. This is the architecture which we have to deploy. Let me extract this into a separate window so that it's easy for me to navigate. Now let me go back to the Katakora terminal and I'll maximize this as well so that we are good here as well, and also maximize so that you can see it. I'll do a clear kubectl get all. If I do a get all, it should show what are the different resources. I just have the service, nothing else. Now coming back to the challenge, let's go from the bottom up because that's how we create services and the relevant configurations. Now if I click on the Drupal PV host path, this is nothing but persistent volume. We need to create a persistent volume folder called Drupal-data in the worker nodes. So let's look at how many worker nodes are present. By the way, I'm going to create an alias called k = kubectl so that it's easy for me to type. So hereafter I can type k get all or k get nodes. So k get nodes will show me what are the different nodes. There is a node called node 1. In order to log into the node, we can just do a SSH and node 01. This will directly take us into the node 01. See that it's by default logged in. Now inside the node 01, I need to create a folder called Drupal-data. That's what they are saying, right? Configure a Drupal-pv, which is a persistent volume, with the host path Drupal-data, which is the directory which we need to create in the worker. Now I'm going to say mkdir and let's create the directory. That's it. Now I'm coming out of the node 1. In order to create a persistent volume, we need to check the syntax. Let me open a new tab with kubernetes.io. So I opened the kubernetes.io with the documentation for setting up different YAMLs. So here we need to create a persistent volume. The moment I search the persistent volume, I get a lot of different links here. I'm going to click on the persistent volume option here and let's search for tags. So the moment I click on that link, it takes me to some YAML configuration. We need to have a YAML configuration with host path, right? Let me check where is the host path. So there are not much configuration with respect to host path. I'm going to go back to the previous search option and there is an option here in the second link. Let me try that if there is an option there. Yeah, so this particular example has a host path. If you notice, we need a storage space as well. Now let's take a look at the storage space which we require. The moment I click on this, it's a host path, and if I click on the PV, I can see that the mode says we need read write once and the volume is called Drupal-PV and the storage is 5 GB. So we got to know all the details. Now let me create a file called Drupal-pv because that's the persistent volume. I'm going to paste the code which we copied, and I'm going to change the folder names and all the details which we need. So this was called Drupal-data, and read write once is the access mode, and also the storage is 5. I'll retain everything else. The type is also okay, it's a label. Now in order to give the name which we need to provide here is Drupal-pv. That's what was given, right? So the volume name is Drupal-pv. Now let me close this. Now let me apply this particular persistent volume to be created. So I'm going to say k apply -f Drupal-pv. So this is going to create a new persistent volume. To check the persistent volume, I can say k describe pv Drupal-pv. So this shows that I have created a persistent volume and it looks good. So we can cross check that by clicking on the check option here. So this will do a check on all the services and it will tell us whether it is done or not. For example, we finished creating a host path and also we created a persistent volume. See that it shows us green, right? That means we have completed it. The next step is to create something called as a persistent volume claim, and we need to create a persistent volume claim with the same requested 5 GB data, and the access mode is read write once. So in order to check the documentation, let's go into the same place. There is a option here. Yeah, so this is how we can create a persistent volume claim. So I'm going to copy the syntax. Let me open Drupal-pvc.yaml. So the storage space was 5 GB and it was read write once, which was fine. And also the name of the persistent volume claim is called Drupal-pvc. In order to apply it, we can just do a k apply hef Drupal-pvc. So this is going to create a new persistent volume claim for us. To check that, we can click on the check option. That will do a validation whether this particular volume claim has been created or not. Yes, it has been created. So we got a successful message. Now parallelly, what we can do is we can create the other MySQL related resources which are similar to what we created now. So there is a MySQL specific persistent volume and also there is a persistent volume claim. So we can copy the same file and then reuse it for creating the MySQL specific configuration. So first we need to create a host path under the node again. It's called Drupal-mysql-data. Let's log into the node 1. That was our worker node, and we need to create a folder called Drupal-mysql-data. We have created it. Let me create this. The next thing is we need to create a persistent volume, and the persistent volume is called as Drupal-mysql-pv. So let's go and copy the same file which we have already created. So if you look at the current directory, we created a Drupal-pv.yaml. I'm going to create this. I'm going to copy the same and just say Drupal-mysql-pv.yaml. Let's open the Drupal-mysql-pv.yaml and I'll just change the name of it. So name of this was Drupal-mysql-pv. Also the path has been changed to Drupal-mysql-data. So that's it. We need the same space, right? The space is 5 GB and also the access mode is read write once. So I'm just retaining the same. Let me save it. Now I can do apply. This should now create a persistent volume for the MySQL. We are good. Now the next step is to create a persistent volume claim on the same thing. So we can leverage the same Drupal-pvc. So I'm going to create a Drupal-mysql-pvc.yaml. I'll open the PVC. Now we need to just change the name of this particular persistent volume claim to Drupal hyphen MySQL hyphen PVC. That's it. Now we need to create the same configuration. Now we need to apply this. So I'll just say Drupal hyphen MySQL hyphen PVC. So this will create a new persistent volume claim for the MySQL related changes. Now, if I click on the check option, this will validate whether we have created a volume claim and the persistent volume. So we have created it. So ideally, this should go to success now. See that all the three are success. The next resource which we need to create is the secret, so that the deployment can use the secret to connect to the MySQL database. Now, if I click on the Drupal MySQL secret, it says that I need to create a secret with a name called Drupal MySQL secret. So let me copy that. Coming back to the terminal, I am going to create a secret. So I'll just say K8s secret. We need to provide what type of secret it is. We are creating a generic type because we are going to pass the key value pair. And I need to give the name of this particular secret. I'll just say Drupal hyphen MySQL hyphen secret. The property which we need to pass is from literal equal to, and we need to provide the username and password. So first I'm selecting the MySQL root password, that is the username, and the password is root underscore password. Then next literal is again from literal equal to MySQL database, and the database is called Drupal hyphen database. So let me paste it, Drupal hyphen database. MySQL user, and the username is root. So this is the secret which we are going to create. The moment I click enter, the secret got created. So I can check it by clicking on the check option, and the secret should now go to green. So the secret is green, which basically means we have completed it. Now we need to create a deployment which is called Drupal-MySQL with one replica and one image, and also there are different volume mounts. So in order to get the configuration information, I'm going to go to the Kubernetes documentation again, and let's search for deployments. So let me go to the creating a deployment option. Yeah, so we have some syntax here. The other way of creating a deployment specific YAML is you can just say create deployment. Also, I can say that this is going to be a dry run. I'll provide an image which will be MySQL colon 57 5.7. I'll just save that. Also, I'll just say this is going to be a YAML. So I want the output to be generated as a YAML, and I'll save this into a Drupal-MySQL.yaml. That way it is easier for me to modify it. So I can just open that file. So I need to provide some more details because there is something called as volume mount. We need to add a volume mount, and also we need to add a persistent volume claim. So in order to do that, we need to refer some examples. So I'm going to go to volume mount. I'll just search for volume. There's no volume mount in this particular example. So I'll just search for persistent volumes, because that is where you can see how to configure our deployment with the persistent volume. So see that there is an example here, and I'll just use this particular example. So in order to provide the volume mounts, we need to have the volume. So I'm going to copy this. I'll use the same for our example. So here it says I need to have a volume which uses the persistent volume claim, and also the volume mount should be var lib MySQL. First, let me paste this, and then we can take a look at it. The name of our claim is Drupal hyphen MySQL hyphen PVC. I'll give this a storage name. So for example, let me keep the same, right? The storage name, did they mention anything? No. Now let me go back to the volume mount. So the volume mount can be configured like this here. So I'm going to use the same. So here there is an example of var lib mysql, and I think it's exactly the same. So I'll use the same to add it into my containers. So I can paste it here. The name of the volume mount is same and the mount is var lib mysql. The other thing is they have mentioned that there is something called as a subpath, and subpath should be db data. So if we can directly add the subpath under the volume mount. Now we can apply this particular configuration into the cluster. So I'll just say drupal-mysql.yaml. So this is now created. Let me refresh this check option. So that way I'll be able to see that Drupal-mysql is created and this should go green. Looks like it is not green. Let's click on this Drupal MySQL. See that all these configurations are fine. However, the Drupal MySQL is not running. This is because we have not configured the secrets, right? If you click on the arrow option, it shows that there are pending tasks for us still, right? Which basically means we need to configure the secrets while the deployment is starting up. So let's go and search for how to apply the secrets, and there is an option here. Let me copy the example and let me go back to my configuration. Let's open the Drupal-mysql. We need to configure the secrets so that the container can use it during the startup, because of which our container is failing. K8s all. This should show all the resources. Now my pods are running, right? So which is good. Let me go back to the UI and then let's click on the check option. This should now mark this particular arrow as green and also the Drupal MySQL as green because it's running. Yeah, it got changed to green. Awesome. So now we need to create a service which can access this particular deployment. So in order to create a service, we can directly use the CLI to create the configuration. Let me copy this and I'll just do a clear. Let's create the service now using the command line k create service. The short form for service is SVC. Also we need to create the type as cluster IP. So I'll just say service as cluster IP, and we need to provide the name of this particular service, which is Drupal MySQL service. We need to also provide the port. I'm just going to say TCP equal to 3306. That's what is mentioned here. This can be run as a dry run command. I'll just do a dry run -o YAML. This is going to create a YAML configuration. Looks like I had a incorrect syntax here. Let me correct it. The dry run spelling was incorrect. Let me fix that. Now it creates a YAML file. Let me redirect this particular YAML into Drupal-mysql-service.yaml. So let me open this file and let's modify if we need it. mysql-service.yaml. So the port is 3306 and the final target port is 3306. Now let me apply this configuration. The moment I click on apply, the service is going to be created. Let's do a clear k-get all. This will show all the services. If you see, the service has been created with cluster IP on port number 3306. Let's click on the check. Now the check should refresh that the MySQL service is good and it is connecting to the Drupal-mysql deployment. See that the service is good. However, the arrow mark is not correct because we need to relate the service with the pod, right? We just created a service, but it's not linked with our deployment. Now you can notice that there is a label selection which is happening here in this particular line, which says that select the deployment which has the label app and then Drupal hyphen MySQL hyphen service. However, our label is Drupal hyphen MySQL, right? So we need to remove this particular hyphen service because that's not what our deployment is. Now let me save this file and we can apply this configuration. I'll do a clear k apply hyphen f Drupal hyphen MySQL hyphen service. The moment we apply this service, we can do a check again to verify that this particular red mark goes away and then it turns as green. Yeah, now it turns to green. So we are good with respect to the Drupal setup. So we have a Drupal MySQL running and the service is available to access this particular deployment. Secrets are being used. We use a persistent volume and then we are using a persistent volume claim. Now the final two things which are remaining are the deployment for the Drupal and the service. Look at the deployment, it looks huge. Let's create it one by one. The first, it says I need to create a deployment, so we can leverage the same which we created. Now let me do lslrt. So the file which we created was Drupal-MySQL. We can copy that and we can name it for Drupal.yaml. I'll open Drupal.yaml. So we need to remove all the MySQL tags. What I'll do is in fact, I can do a search and then replace. We don't have secrets here. Now I'm going to remove the unnecessary parameters. We do have the volume mounts here. So we do have the volume mounts for modules folder, profiles folder, sites, and then themes folder. So we have 4 volume mounts which we need to add. The next thing we need to correct is the container. So the container is called Drupal, right? So let me go and fix this. And the image is Drupal colon 8.6. So the image is set. Replica should be 1. Let me check the replica. Yeah, by default it is 1. So it is 1. So we're good there. So the deployment name is called Drupal, which is corrected. Yeah. And then replica is 1. Image is set. Also, there is some new section which is saying deployment has a init container. So init container, we need to provide the init container, and then there are different volumes, images, persistent volume claim which we need to mount on the init container. Now to get the syntax for that, let's go and find out. So we do have an example. Let me copy this whole example and we can use it. So we need to create an init container called init which has different container names. Okay, let me first open this. So the init container should be outside the container. So let me add it here. And we need to provide the name of the init container. So I'll just say init sites hyphen volume. The spacing is screwed up. Let me remove the ones which we don't require. I'll remove the command which we don't require right now. The name of the init container is called init sites volume. Let me correct the format. And the image should be Drupal colon 8.6. Let me copy that again. The volume mount should be the persistent volume claim. So we need to use the mount path, but we are going to use the persistent volume claim for it. For that, we can use the same name, which was MySQL persistent storage. So we can use the same name, MySQL persistent storage. Also the mount path is slash data. So I'll just say slash data. So our mount path is done. The next step is to have the command. So if you see, we have done the image, we have done the name, we have done the persistent volume, we have done the mount path. Next one is the command. So they're saying use the command slash bin. Okay, so we need to have command and also the argument. So let me copy this directly. So I'll add the command. So commands can be directly added inside the init container. I'll add a command here. So this is one command, and the next one is the argument. So argument can be added as args, and I can copy the whole content. So this is basically the startup arguments and the command which will be run when the pod is coming up. So let me save this file and we can apply this Drupal configuration. So I'll just say k apply -f drupal.yaml. This is now creating a deployment. Let me do a clear k get all. This should show all the deployments. So the pods are now getting created. Get pod. So pod should now show what's happening. So the pod is initializing and the pod is running. So we are good. Let me clear and then check one more time. Get pod. Yep. So both the deployments are running. Let me go and refresh this. This should mark as deployment which is successfully running, and it is using the persistent volume claim. See that my deployment is successful and also the service is pending. So finally we need to create a service and it connects to our Drupal deployment, which is simple, but the only difference between this and this is we have created a cluster IP here. However, we have created a type node port here. So we need to use the same configuration. So I'll copy the Drupal-mysql-service to Drupal-service.yaml. Instead of the MySQL, I'll just remove the MySQLs wherever I have. So let me escape :/-MySQL//cg. I want to remove this, yes. And instead of the cluster IP, I need it as node port. Right, that's what it says, node port, and the port is 30095. So here we have used the target port. Instead, I'll just use the node port, and it is 30095. I'll use the port as 30095 3095. So the port is 3095, however it is running on the node port 3005. Also it's going to have the node selection as Drupal, which is working fine as well. So the service should be servers, and then if I click on this, it says Drupal service should be connected to app Drupal. So that's what this is. Yeah, so we are good. Let me save this configuration and we can apply this. Okay, apply -f MySQL. Okay, apply -f Drupal-service.yaml. This is going to create a new service. Now let me do a clear and then do a get service. So the service is now going to run on the port 30095, which is the node port type, which is done. So finally we have set up this service as well. Now it should mark everything complete and we should be able to complete our challenge. Yep, so we got the final phrase. We need to copy this phrase and we need to go back to our UI here and then paste it. So the moment I paste it, it will say I am done with this particular challenge. Yep, I am your scheduler. Kill the pod, kill the pod, kill the pod. Okay, that's funny. Cool, that's how you can finish the Bravo challenge. The takeaways from here are, we got to know how to create persistent volumes, deployments, services, and also we got to know different nuances of how to configure these secrets inside a deployment, along with creating different volume mounts and subpaths in addition to init containers. I hope you found this particular video interesting. If you want the exact YAML configuration, you can head to the Game of Pods GitHub repository. I'll be creating a new folder here called solutions/Drupal, and all the configurations will be present here by the time you see this particular video. As always, if you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to it. Meet you again in the next video. Thank you very much.